Hello, I'm Dr. Margaret and welcome to my video. Actually today I thought I'd like to talk about mediumship. It's been easy for me for a very long time to be a medium. In fact, when I was born my mother said that people held me and got better. But by the time I was 4.5 or 5 I began to realize that I could speak to dead people. Now of course that sounds strange for a small child to say those things, but actually back in those days, after the World War II finished, it was unusual. In fact, people said I had a wild imagination. But when I started to tell them what the dead people were telling me, then they began to pay more attention to me, because some of the things I told them they knew as a child I couldn't possibly have known. Of course, during the war, London was bombed morning and evening. In fact, my mother would say things like, "Oh, those Germans, they're at it again," and apparently I learned to copy her. But you know what? Day by day, as London was bombed, more and more people died. And it seemed to me that they all ended up in my bedroom. And of course then I would spend a lot of time wondering why they all had blood on them and looked very miserable and depressed. And I would get a little scared, but then my spirit guides would say to me, "Okay, we're going to take them to heaven now." And in my own little childish way, I prayed, I did whatever spirit guide said, and they all went off to heaven. So, as a very small child, I was being used by the spirit world to rescue a lot of people that had died. Well, of course, I grew up a little bit more, and by the time I was 12, I realized that I had a unique gift. You see, before that, I thought everybody could do what I did. So, when I started to say to my school friends, "Hey, I talk to dead people," they thought I was insane too. But you know, there's always that mirror image, like attracts like. And so I had some really good friends who were also in their own way very psychic. One used to sit down and listen to spirit guides telling her poems and stories, and she used to write them down. I thought that was incredible. But of course, when I got older, I found I could write too. But during those years I wasn't very interested in writing. After all, I wasn't very good at English or math or anything else really. But by the time I'd become 20, I was very psychic. I could channel music, I could channel artwork, I could pretty well talk about anything that anybody asked me about the paranormal world. And of course, by the time I'm 25, I'm one of the youngest practicing mediums in the spiritual churches in England. In those days, what we were asked to do was to prove survival of life after death, which meant that many people, they thought that perhaps they should be being able to talk to their dead relatives. So they would come to me and say, "Is uncle here, or auntie here, or grandma, or someone?" And without a blink of an eye, I would be able to say, "Yes, they are here because you're thinking about them. And when you're thinking about them, they come immediately to your side." You know, sometimes a loved one passes over and the person left behind is mourning a lot. In fact, they're crying, they're very upset, they're very miserable. They're thinking of all the things they wanted to say and then wishing they'd said them. So I learned that as a medium, I could say all the things that my client wanted to say to the spirit person. They would hear all that news and they would respond with some kind of message that proved that they were indeed the person that person was thinking of, like grandma's memories, grandpa's experiences, husband or wife's last moments that were known, and of course me simple me, didn't know any of these people or anything. So when it came out of my mouth what the spirit people were saying, the people went away happy, because they really believed and knew in their soul that they had been connected with their dead relatives. Of course, some people die tragically, car accident or something like that, and nobody's expecting them to die, and we're all left saying, oh dear, such a short life, and oh, we wish we'd have said and done something. And sometimes we think, well, what really happened? We don't know all the facts. There was a time when a couple came to me about their grandchild, because the grandchild was talking to grandma all the time. They thought their child was losing it. So when they came to see me, they sat down with me. I asked them not to tell me anything, and of course immediately I said, oh, I've got your mother, and she's saying she's been talking to your child. And of course from there the session went on, and they were amazed with all the proof of survival that I was able to give from grandma. But what was more interesting to that story was that when they went home, their little child said to them, grandma was here. She came to me and she said goodbye, and she said thank you for letting me talk to that lady, because now I can go to my rest, to heaven. And they were amazed because the timing was perfect. Well, are you interested in the paranormal? Have you ever stopped to realize that being a medium isn't something you just find someone who can do it like me? It's actually something we can all do. It's only a question of developing your skill on a conscious level to trust yourself, to listen to your instinct, your intuition, to use psychometry, clairvoyance, clairaudience, and clairsentience to speak to your spirit relatives. And yes, they will come to you if you still your mind and let yourself trust yourself to develop your medium traits. Everyone has medium traits, because all it is using your spirit self. And if you stop and think about how everyone on this planet has a spirit, and that our spirit, each one that is connected with everyone else, we're very, very busy on the spiritual level. So I hope you in some way will trust yourself to trust a medium to give you messages about your loved ones, so that you won't be pining away, so that you'll feel connected. If you're watching this and you trust me and you need help, you can always contact me at drmargaretrvc@gmail.com, and I do reply to all my mail, and I'll help you to connect. So until I do another video, and I hope you'll watch many of my other ones, I'll say goodbye. Stay well and be happy.